Good morning, Mike's Diabetes World. Well, it's Nico and I out early. Supposed to be rain later today, so now what are we going to discuss today? Travel. I thought travel would be a good thing. So we're going to discuss diabetes and travel. Hey there. Well, I know we're a little low light right now, but it'll improve. So, traveling. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was 14 years old, my mother and my stepfather were off in Fiji on a building for the Canadian government, building assignment for the Canadian government. And I was invited when school was over to go for a trip. Go down there and visit them, and it was great. Going to a far off country, South Pacific. So I packed up. Well, I didn't pack up, actually my sister packed up because I was kind of oblivious. I got a passport. Didn't yet have to get any shots. And I headed off to Fiji. Flew from Vancouver to Honolulu, and then from Honolulu into Suva. Well, while I was on my way, it still brings a... Back then, you had to refrigerate your insulin. So, I got my insulin and I made a nice little package for it. And when I went on the plane, I asked if it could be refrigerated. We checked this all out with the airline. The airline no longer exists, so... Very bright today. All of a sudden it's very bright. I don't know why. I think that's more of what it should be. Sorry, I'm just relocking. There we go. And flight down there was fine. I got fed lunch. Back then, I really didn't have to do a shot with meals. It was like a breakfast and dinner. And I had ordered my dinner. And I asked for my insulin. Because before we landed, I was told, oh, you don't have to worry about your insulin. It'll be okay. We'll take care of it for you. Famous last words. Well, I was a naive school kid. So, I went on my merry way. They're racing around looking for... And here I want to eat. I was hungry. There was nothing really else to do on the plane. I think we had a movie, some movie. But anyway, they couldn't find it. And I was sort of in a panic. And I got to go up to the cockpit. That was neat. Out of the whole thing, it was neat to go up into the cockpit. But they were debating on whether to return to Honolulu. But because my parents were waiting for me in Fiji, it was decided we'd fly into Fiji. Now, back then, you could have all the drinks you wanted. So the doctor said they had a doctor on board, not just for me, but they had a doctor on board. And he said, well, keep walking, get as much exercise as you can on the flight. I was given all the liquids I could drink because they knew I was going to be high when I landed. And when I landed in Suva, the flight attendant walked me off the plane. And then I had to go to some hospital. And the needles I was using was the wrong size, because different countries use different units in the bottles than we did in North America, and you had to have the correct syringe for the correct bottles. And it wasn't a good experience. So I came up with these little plans when you're traveling. And I used it when I traveled to go pick up Nico a couple of years ago. First step is you have to prepare beforehand. And you're going to have to get enough medication for your trip. Now, what's enough? Well, figure out, I know we're heading back into the dark because of the trees and everything, but we'll be back out in a sec to the light. There we go. We're starting to, there we go. Okay. Now, to figure out how much you need, and then take half of that again. Take more than you think you're ever going to have to need. Because, I know I'm dark again, I'm sorry. But if you don't, then, you're just going to be out of luck. You're going to run out. And try to get some sort of refrigeration. You can order refrigeration bags now that will keep it cold for up to 8 hours straight. And, you can get ice packs in them, and they're all quite good. Pack your insulin in your hand luggage. Never put your insulin down below. So don't do what I did. Don't travel with your insulin in their refrigerators. I don't think they even sort of have room for that anymore. Back then, it was kind of like the big jet planes. Now, I don't think there's enough. It's a little darkish in these woods today. I don't. We seem to be a little slow in getting. But we'll come down here for a bit. Now, there we go. I'm back, kind of into the light. I'm into the light. You go. Just with that. Now, different countries have different regulations, and most countries nowadays follow what the states decides. If the states decide, you know, you have to have, or less than 300 milliliters, I think it is, liquids, then that's what you're allowed. However, when it comes to medication, you don't need to worry about that. You know, make sure everything is labeled, and I'm talking every bottle. Make sure that the bottles inside, if there's any way they can be labeled, they need to be labeled. I know it sucks this light this early in the morning. The good thing is it's not going to last for long, because Vancouver, we're supposed to get rain and rain and rain. Like for 14 days we're supposed to be getting rain. And it's winter. Yay. But we're all good. See, we're done. Now, packaging. Make sure that you have a letter from your doctor. Now, these on your own, and don't say, well, I have a letter from my doctor, that's going to be great, because letter, where that used to be the top letter for travel, that used to be the best. You know, you used to have it there and everything would be fine. You go through security. I'm just going to have to put on gloves. My hands are freezing. I'll be right back. Okay, I think, I'm back. Sorry. Just getting my gloves on. Okay, well, mittens. Oh, my feet are fine. My hands are absolutely frozen today. And it's not like freezing out here. That I guess because they're stuck in one position where I can twiddle my toes and stomp my feet. Okay, so what I do is I get a whole bunch of small baggies, and I would put like my pump things, and I would take at least 4 pump change tubings and everything, and I would put all the rest in my suitcase, because it doesn't really matter if it gets really cold down below. Next, I get my EpiPens, everything that I'm going to need to safely travel. I'm going to put in my bag, or in my bags, anything I need on the plane or that is temperature sensitive. I don't know if that's. I would put in these bags, and then the small bags would go into, I think it's a 1 liter, and each bag was labeled, each product inside was labeled. And now that letter I said that we used to get from the doctor, that now is just a last sort of like a backup. Where it used to be the number one thing, it's now just a backup. So, other things. Well, you need to get, if you're using needles, you need to get a portable sharps container. Now, that could be something that has a lid on it. In the past, I've used, what are they called? The protein shake bottle. Um, and make sure it's clearly identified as a biohazard. Now, you don't want to cause anyone undue concern because you didn't identify it and they open up or whatever and they get stabbed. You want to make sure that everything is done right. Now, when you're also traveling, when you go through security, let them know. Don't be, I'm going to be so secretive about it. Let them know that you are a diabetic traveling. TSA down in the States can be a little not stuck up, that's the wrong term, but oh yeah, everything goes through the x-ray machine, blah, 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 blah. But Canada gets it all checked, and you shouldn't be putting your insulin through an x-ray machine. Pure and simple. Now, I know when I've flown internationally, when I flew to a conference when I was with LensCrafters in Canada, my pump was swabbed. Well, yeah, it was swabbed, I guess, a cotton ball. And then this cotton ball was put into a machine to detect if there was any explosives. Okay. I thought, well, they do that there. In the States, my God, it was like it was carrying a bomb. Oh my God. Well, pumps were fairly new back then, or mainstream pumps, so I don't really blame them. But they had to open it up, they had to take a look. I really wanted to say, well, in Canada they got swabbed in it, but I know to keep my mouth shut. Anyway, I almost missed my flight, and we were there like 2 hours before, after, or getting ready to go for a conference, and they were gonna pull off my bags and search my bags because they were certain. And finally, a supervisor who happened to be a diabetic came down and said, "This is an insulin pump, move it along." So, let's see. That's It's very bright now. There we go. Oh, sorry about that. Now, tell a flight attendant that you're a diabetic. If you need to, ask for assistance for anything you need. I've noticed that if you're prepared, things rarely go wrong. Don't let your insulin or anything out of your hands. Like I told you at the beginning of this, I mean, it can go up overhead. I normally, if I'm in like a bag that I can slip under my seat, a lot of times, like I was going away when I had to go away and get Nico. I had to go away for 3 weeks. And there's an awful lot of stuff I have to use every day. So I phoned the airlines and I asked about a second carry-on. And luckily I was recorded as being a medical from the school. So get your seats checked for a medical. Go through any assistance that you may need. You know, I was told the chair, so my chair was taken care of. I luckily can walk onto the plane. But take your time, prepare, know what each airline regulations are. And then, if you do all that, everything's gonna be great. When I flew to go get Nico, they knew I was coming. They had people at the gate waiting to take my chair. They put me into another wheelchair and wheeled me to the doors. They took my chair down. And it was just discussions with the airlines. And everything was great. Sure, now it gets nice. It's not sunny, but light. Hold on, I'll be... So, we talked about bagging your medication, whether it's pills, insulin, so that everything is easily read, that all your items are labeled, put in the bag, a label on front. You have a letter from your doctor, just kind of like secondary. The letter alone isn't going to do it. You're going to have it in your carry-on luggage. You're going to put it under your seat. You can put it on your overhead, but it's going to be easier to get it if you need it on your seat. Pack your glucometer in with your medication. Make sure when you check in that everything you've done with, calling the medical desk. I think for us, Air Canada called it a medical desk. And make sure that you have everything you need. All documentation, any letters you get, any emails you get. Being a diabetic sucks. And traveling with diabetes sucks even more. The last thing you really have to do, and this is the most important thing you do, if you've done all your planning up to then enjoy your trip. I've got to, with all the planning I did for my trip to go get Nico, it was the easiest I've ever done. When I was not prepared and not thinking years ago is when I had all the problems. So, take care, have a great trip, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.